Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for Fraud Watch Friday. We are back with another session. This one will focus on the holidays. We are into the holiday season. I've kind of got the Santa beard going, kind of in the spirit of the season. And as always, I'm joined by Kay Tomlinson, who's going to be leading our session today. Hi, Kay. How are things with you?
Hi, Bruce. Hi, everyone. Going great. Still shopping for the holidays, but thank you, everybody, for joining us today. I know this is just such a super busy time of year with so much happening. So thanks for taking the time to join us today. And I want to let you know, too, that the information I'll be talking about will be coming to you as an attachment to your follow-up email. So don't feel like you need to jot things down or take notes because we'll be sending that information to you. Okay, let's dive in. And this has just been, I'm amazed to tell you, a very active month, 6 weeks for scams. It seems like the scam awareness is everywhere. I've been inundated with alerts, stories, emails, texts, all warning me to be cautious. You may be getting these too. And during the holidays, when we're celebrating, we're busy, we're not paying close attention. Criminals know that this is their chance. And it's not just Christmas. We need to keep that in mind. Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Bodhi Day, which is a Buddhist holiday, Boxing Day in Canada. Fraudsters don't care which holiday you might or you might not celebrate. They care that you're distracted and busy with tasks that are really outside of your normal daily routine and not likely as much to be paying close attention to things like those emails, robocalls, texts. We have to keep in mind that distraction plus the urgency that we typically see in scams equals vulnerability for us. So let's talk about some scams that we should be watching out for as we celebrate our way through the rest of these year-end holidays and of course into the new year as well. Well, I can tell you that the top holiday scams being reported, in fact, as of this week on the Better Business Bureau's scam tracker site, pretty familiar. Phishing scams, fraudulent shopping scams. Again, not a surprise. Also, very big this holiday season, according to the Washington State Department of Financial Institutions, the DFI, fake shipping and delivery notice scams. So, of course, with the horrible flooding and the landslides that are happening here in Washington State, fake charity scams have absolutely increased, as well as construction-related scams. So let's dig a little deeper into some of these so we know what to watch out for. I mentioned phishing scams, still one of the most popular scams making the rounds. You get emails advertising what can be false products, always at bargain prices, to trick you onto clicking a link to go to a phishing or a false website. So we always need to remember the safest thing to do is never click on links in emails. Go to another tab in your browser and research the product and the company from there. And of course, I mentioned fake charities, top scam at year end because they're so successful. And it's not just during the holiday season, but really any natural disaster as well. So I know we have folks joining us from outside Washington State today. Thank you for joining us. And you've probably seen the news in your area about the flooding and the landslides that are happening here. We are seeing a lot of GoFundMe pages popping up right now. People are hurting and they need help, but GoFundMe.org, the company, has actually notified the Washington State Governor's Office, and they've issued a separate warning about fake GoFundMe scams. They're asking people to really, really be cautious. So before you donate to any cause, research the charity through trusted sources that we always recommend. Charity Navigator, Charity Watch. Go directly to the charity's webpage using their legitimate address. Don't use your search engine and then click on a link there. And don't donate to individuals unless you know them directly. If you want to help, donate to those legitimate charities that you know are helping Washington residents directly if you want to support the flood victims. So, just like the GoFundMe warning about charitable giving during these floods, I've seen several local news reports already warning about storm chasers. These are fake contractors that want you to hire them on the spot to fix flood, landslide, or tree damage. And they're actually showing up right at people's doors, and they're arriving from across the country. They're chasing the natural disaster. Okay, so let's switch gears. I'm going to ask everybody a question. How many folks are shopping online this year? With a show of hands. Okay, I see some hands. Yay. Okay, here's another question for you. How many people still have shopping to do? Okay, Bruce, I feel like I found my people. Of course, scammers are capitalizing on our online shopping. And of course, hey, subsequent package delivery notifications. And these fraudulent delivery notices, they look like they're from a valid shipping company. Notices are usually sent by text or email, and they're prompting us to click on a link. Might be to reschedule a delivery or pay a fee. And there are a lot of variations to this scam. And these can be really hard to detect, I think, especially during the holidays, because if there's someone else living in your household, you might not know if they've ordered something online and they're expecting a package delivery. You might be unsure if this is real or if it's a scam. And so, according to the DFI, Department of Financial Institutions here in Washington, I want to tell you about a new and very big scam that's happening right now tied to package delivery and robocalls. You get a call saying a package is being delivered to you, but it's been seized by Custom Border Patrol in Texas. And wait for it, an arrest warrant has been issued. Luckily, you can pay a fine with the caller right now to avoid further issues. And of course, you can get your package. Doesn't that sound outlandish? But it's being reported right here in the state. So lots of us are still shopping, and well, we're doing it online. So I want to share some options and maybe some different ways that we can finish our shopping and help avoid scams. My first and best suggestion for avoiding online scams is to go where the scammers aren't. Think of this as low-tech protection that many people just aren't going to like. Try in-person shopping again if possible for at least part of your purchases. You know, I recently saw a survey conducted by the Harris Poll and Quad. More than 70% of shoppers surveyed said they trust in-store purchases more than online shopping. Why does that not surprise me? But I'm surprised the percentage isn't higher if I'm going to the store to buy something. Try setting aside a dedicated online shopping time. Security experts say the best way to combat online scams, regardless of what they are, is to slow down and avoid distractions. And believe me, I realize this advice is not very easy to follow during the holiday season, but give it a try. Set aside a few hours, maybe later in the evening or very early in the morning, to do your online shopping. You know, when your home is quiet and when you know that you're going to have time to really focus. And you can break it up into smaller sections if you have a lot of shopping to do. So you're not spending 3 hours sitting in front of your computer in the middle of the night. Of course, we always tell you use your credit card and not a debit card for any online purchases. That way, if the card number is stolen, or if you've clicked on a fake listing or a website, we've all done it, you have a pretty good chance of getting your money back because credit cards offer protections that you won't find when you use debit cards, which are essentially cash, or using cryptocurrency, which is essentially cryptocurrency. The personal payment apps like Zelle, Venmo, Cash App, some of these are more secure than others, but even the company Zelle recommends that you only send money to people you know and small businesses that you know and trust. A credit card is always going to offer more protection for online purchases. And consider using a different card, a separate card for any subscriptions or online shopping, because these online payments we know are susceptible to fraud. So consider a separate card that just has a low dollar limit. That way, only a small portion of your money is at risk from scammers. And finally, of course, beware of bargains. We all love bargains. If a sale price or a giveaway sounds too good to be true, it is. So there's one more scam that I want to share with you. I hadn't even considered this, but it's being reported as being a very popular scam this holiday season. So maybe during the holidays, you get a call from a loved one. It might be your kid at college, it might be a grandchild. And no, they haven't been in an accident and they're not asking you to send money to help them. It's not a grandparent scam, but they're calling to tell you exactly what they want for Christmas. And hey, they just happen to be online at a website that has it for sale. All you have to do is give them your credit card now. They can buy the hard to find item that's on sale, and you can give them that item as a gift. Your shopping is done. This is likely a scam because we know from our past Fraud Watch Friday sessions, scammers only need a short audio clip to use artificial intelligence to make a call that makes it seem like the call is from someone you know who is asking you for a special gift for the holidays. The Federal Trade Commission says don't trust the voice. Call the person who supposedly contacted you and verify the story. So just a couple of other points, because we know that scams can happen to any of us. And so what should we really think of doing if we do fall victim to a scam? You know, the main thing is to act quickly to limit the damage. Contact your bank immediately so they can take steps to freeze your account and enact their fraud protocols for you. Also, something that you might not think about, but that I discovered talking with law enforcement investigating these scams. Also, ask your bank what you would need to do to pre-authorize the release of your account information to law enforcement. So they don't need to delay any investigation waiting to get a subpoena to get that information. It's going to save critical time if they need your bank records, if they do launch an investigation. You don't have to authorize the release right then, but at least you're going to know what to do if it gets to that point. Of course, change passwords on any connected account that's compromised, two-factor authentication if it isn't already on. Review your credit reports and freeze your credit if you haven't already. And contact your credit card company to let them know about the scam or the compromised card. And don't forget to delete that credit card number anywhere on any website where it might be stored. Think about those automatic payments that you have set up, potentially on several websites. Things like cell phone payments, streaming subscriptions that are paid automatically on your card. You get the idea. Go in and make sure you delete or replace the card number on all those accounts. Contact the organization involved because they want to know if there is fraud and scams happening on involving their company. This might be Verizon, Amazon, Walmart, anybody other than your bank. And then naturally report to the authorities by contacting the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3 online. And people ask a lot when I speak to them in person, what happens when I report? Because everybody is really looking for a return call. We know that the FBI is a national and they work internationally organization. Not every complaint might not lead to enforcement action by the FBI, but I can tell you that the information helps these officials spot trends and it can help them actually identify the criminals, even if they're overseas. Of course, contact the free AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline. Bruce, I'm sure that you'll go ahead and put this in the chat for everyone. 877-908-3360. And you get to speak with trained fraud specialists. They can provide support. They can provide guidance on what to do next. And sometimes that's the hardest question and sometimes the scariest. What do I do now? Fraud Watch Network Helpline can help you with those questions. So we know and we always remind ourselves that anyone can fall victim to a scam, anyone. And we know that younger adults are scammed more often than seniors, but older adults are scammed for much, much higher dollar amounts. So I'm asking you this holiday season, share this information with your friends, your family, any other organization that you might be involved with. So take those positive steps to protect yourself, protect your loved ones, and don't forget, if you suspect the red flags of a scam, 3 steps: pause, reflect, and then take steps to protect yourself, because distraction plus the urgency that we know we see in scams equals potential vulnerability for us. So lots of information there. As I said, we're going to be sending you out a sheet with the high points of all this information with the follow-up email that you'll get so that you can review. And I would encourage you to forward it to your friends, your family. Let them take a look so they also know what to do in case they see those red flags. Bruce, do we have any questions or comments, or people are just horrified with all this year-end stuff? And you're on mute, my dear.
Okay. Actually, I was gonna post. I've been getting a message from Tony, who's from the Department of Revenue, in
Oh,
Washington
very good.
State has joined us. But he sent a link to look up businesses in Washington State to see if they're fraudulent or not. So I just put that in the chat.
Excellent. Hi,
Um,
Tony.
but yeah, actually, the thing in your presentation that really got to me was the idea of sending a direct link to buy a gift for a loved one. I know if my daughter sent me a text that said, "Oh, here's the thing I've been wanting,"
Hmm.
and here's a link to it, and it would probably be some sort of Japanese, related to anime type product that, I
Right.
wouldn't really be able to find,
Mhm.
but it'd be a special gift for her. It'd be very, very tempting to say, "Oh, okay, well, this is my Christmas shopping here. I'll just click on this link and buy it." So,
Hmm.
sometimes you look at these scams and go, "That's pretty clever," but that's what the con artists are doing. They're like, trying to think of what will get you to click, and they keep trying new things. So if it were a legitimate thing, it would be a great service. But the problem is, it's not. You're just getting scammed.
Right, right.
Uh,
Well, same with my son. He's not that far away in Seattle, but if I got a call from him, or like you say, a text saying, hey, I just found that. I know, we've been looking for it. Um, my first inclination would be, yay. I
yeah,
don't do anything else to go search for this because he's taken care of it. I don't, one thing I can check off my list. And that's kind of the danger is we have so many things to do this time of year. It's so tempting to just check it off the list.
yeah. Well, it also plays into one of the psychological tactics of con artists, which is a sense of urgency. Like a lot of times the cons will have a do it right now element,
Hmm.
as kind of a threat. But here it's more of a positive element, like I can cross this thing off my shopping list, or like I've been looking for a gift for somebody and I don't know what to get them. Oh, and here's the solution if I act right now. So, if the act right now element is always something to consider because it's so common in scams. But DM has a comment
Oh,
for us about the Google offering a gift card um, to allow them to access your data, which I had not heard of that.
I've heard of that
Have you? Okay,
just
that
very
sounds
recently.
it sounds like a bad idea for people to do, but if you've heard of it, do you have any comments on that?
No, I hadn't actually taken the time to look at it. I kind of researched and said, well, this looks like it really is from Google, but I didn't take the time to really dig into what's it going to do for me, so to speak, to go to the trouble of doing this. And it looks like kind of what DM says, is it really worth it for just a few extra points? But also, DM, you mentioned a virtual credit card for online shopping. And that is something that can be very convenient for folks if you shop a lot online. I still use my credit card, but I have very recently started looking into with my Visa card company using a virtual card. They have been sending me information on it as a scam protection because it is much more secure than using your actual physical card number online. So that is something that I'll be looking into even more, Bruce, and probably will go to because for better or for worse, I do a lot of online shopping and have online um, those auto payments, like I mentioned. It's easy to forget about those, because they just happen. My cell phone always works. I don't have to think about anything. I just get an email saying, thanks for your payment. But a virtual card, something that I would encourage folks to look into if you have an interest in that.
Well, I'm one of those people because I keep getting in the credit card app for my credit card. It says, do you want to set up your virtual card? and they say that it's safer. And I'm going, well, how is it safer? It's still my credit card.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested in the answer to that, because
Mhm.
if it is more secure, then it seems like a good idea.
Yeah, maybe
Um,
we can talk about that next month.
okay. Well, actually, if you're interested in that, put a put a put a thumbs up or put a yes in the comments, because
Yeah.
I'm interested. And if it's a practical step to protect my credit card, I'd certainly be up for it. But like all of us, time is limited and setting up things is a hassle. But so,
Mhm.
okay, if you want to look into whether that's worth it or not.
Yeah.
Here's a question from Joyce, who says that my mom and brother were just placed in a nursing home and their home is empty. Is there a way to avoid mail coming in and packages delivered? I do know to go to USPS.gov and change your mailing address, but other deliverers use the old info.
Mm.
But do you have any advice on that?
Besides going online to USPS, I would probably go to their local post office in person if you can, and fill out a change of address card and have that there for them. Sometimes the online information I've discovered, it does get to the local post office, but sometimes it doesn't happen automatically right now. So either a change of address card at their local in-person post office, or you might want to look at in the short term, besides doing that, getting a post office box for the old address, for the empty house address, to where if something does come into the old address, then it's going to go to the PO box because you'll have a forwarding address little card at that same post office. It's a lot of little cards and it's some time to fill that stuff out. But if you go and talk to the postmaster, the clerk at the post office in person, I've always found that they are just a wealth of information and really ready to help. I can tell you that I had a postal clerk at my local post office here a week and a half ago. He must have spent 15 or 20 minutes with me trying to work out the best, easiest way to get something that was very important to an extremely small, tiny town in northeastern Montana in time for what needed to be delivered. So, yeah, they will really help you.
Okay, well, that's good. That's good to know. I think the post office box is probably a good idea. It's kind of a little expense and it's a little bit of
Yeah,
hassle, but it could probably save a lot of hassle if you have important things coming to the old address.
yeah.
Um, Nancy has actually a pretty good question about the holiday season, in that she got a party invitation from a friend, or so she thought, and then that was a big scam, and contacted the friend and asked if there's a party, rather than click on the party invite, which comes as an attachment. That's a pretty clever scam at the holidays, isn't it?
It, you know, I just, in fact, this morning saw that this is a form of this is a really popular scam that's already ramping up and is anticipated to run into January for those e-cards that you get that say belated Happy New Year, belated Merry Christmas. You click on them and you go to a fraudulent website that downloads malware onto your device. Very similar here. Party invitation, you click on it, you've downloaded malware. If it's somebody that you know is giving a party and now they've sent you an invitation, you're probably going to feel more comfortable. But if it looks strange at all, or if it's somebody that you kind of know but not really, and now you're getting this invitation, I would contact them outside of email to ask them, send them a text, send them an email separately to their email address, just to double check, hey, this invite looked a little strange. I just want to make sure that this was you. I would love to come if I'm invited to your party, if you're really having a party. But you can certainly make light of it to where it doesn't seem intrusive or paranoid, but it's always good to check.
Yeah, yeah, I have kind of a related question, and that's the Christmas cards that some people
Mhm.
send me at the holidays, and it says click here to see your Christmas card, and I've been very reluctant to click on those. So perhaps I'm missing people's Christmas cards, but did you know anything about those?
I do, and I can tell you that I do use e-cards. I only use them through one online company, and it's a minimal charge every month. They have beautiful cards for any occasion you could ever imagine. Beautiful sympathy cards. If somebody that you don't know their address, but you have their email, lovely Christmas cards animated. If I get something that is from that organization, I'm more likely to open it and click on it, especially, someone I know, like if you sent me an animated card, Bruce, for Christmas from this company, I would open it and take a look. But if it's from somebody that I still know, but it's a strange company, I'd probably go to another tab in my browser, do a search on that company, followed by the word scam to
Hmm.
see if it's really valid or not.
Would you say that's a good technique in general, just to Google with who you're trying to look up and just
Yep,
add the word scam?
absolutely. I do that often, and it's amazing that the majority of things that come through are scam. Whether you're looking at a product that someone has a great bargain on that, click here to buy, or a company, I'll see something on social media that looks kind of interesting, and it's the company that's posted the, the big fancy ad that's on the social media site. And then I'll go to a separate tab in my browser and do that exact same thing. Company name followed by scam. And it'll say, this is a valid company. There's no trouble. They're well reputed. Or it'll say, lots of fraud reports for this company. But don't
Okay.
ever just click on social media.
No. Oh, okay. Well, going back to our previous topic, Carolyn has some insight, it sounds like, on virtual cards, and she says it is safer because they set a low limit. So if your credit card has a $10,000 limit, the virtual card only uses the price of what you ordered. They can't get any more off the card. Okay, okay, well, that's an interesting element. So like, we'll have to check into that. And
Mhm,
and then she adds, of course, it still goes on your hard copy bill. So
mhm,
it's not creating a new credit card account, I guess, but it is creating, I guess, a new credit card number.
mhm.
It sounds like.
And
So,
I've seen some sites that for every purchase you make with the virtual card through your company, it creates a new virtual card number that then disappears after you
oh,
make your purchase and your charge goes through. So it's kind of like not a password manager or pass key, but it's a one-time number that is used for that purchase. It's no longer available anywhere for anything, but it is on
hmm,
your regular bill. Next thing you purchase, it's a whole different number. So again, much safer. And I just haven't done it yet, but that will be on my to-do list over this kind of this time off during the holidays once I get my shopping done, and to learn more about it and then to sign up with my card company.
okay, okay. Well, actually, this is sounding more and more like it's probably a good fraud avoidance technique. So we will report back next month. Um, and actually, Joyce, who's down in Albuquerque, says that the random numbers are generated, and this has been coming for decades since the 1980s. So,
Well,
so,
I
so
don't get out
perhaps,
much.
yeah. Well, it kind of does sound a little bit like a password manager in the
Mhm.
sense that, your passwords are generated.
Hmm.
which I still don't entirely trust. So, but actually, speaking of me and my trust issues, I put in the chat. The question is if you would like to see a video on how to freeze your credit. That's a good New Year's resolution to do. I have not done it yet, even though I know that I should. And so I've been talking to Kay about walking me through it for myself. And so I was just wondering, is this something that you might like to see as a walkthrough of how it's done? Because I'm just afraid it's going to take a long time. I'm told it doesn't. I'm afraid I'm going to be upsold a bunch of Experian and the other credit bureaus are going to sell me stuff. So, but I'm told that doesn't happen. I'm told it's quick and easy and probably one of the best things that you can do to protect your credit card since we were just talking about the virtual card and how it can protect your credit from being stolen and used in kind of a runaway fashion. So it sounds like there are at least a few people who would like to see that. Because I would like to see it for myself, because that's one of the things that stopped me from taking one of the big steps that we recommend to protect yourself.
Hmm.
Um, so, um,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely valuable. No question about it. It's one of the top
okay.
things to do to protect yourself from identity theft. In fact, I just got a notice today from part of my credit card company, as well as 2 days ago from Experian, that my email address has been found on the dark web.
Oh,
I usually get that notice about every 3 months because of
yeah,
data breaches.
yeah.
Um, but at the same time, my credit and my husband's credit is frozen with all three agencies. So it says, I change my passwords, all that stuff each time. But I'm not all that worried because I'm taking additional steps and mainly because my credit is frozen. That's the main thing. And I see DM is saying this is different than a fraud alert. It is. Freezing your credit will not allow anyone to contact a credit reporting agency to check your credit to see if you can qualify to buy something on time, including you. And so a fraud alert would be something that you would sign up for at one of these credit reporting agencies. And usually there's a small fee. It's like $2.50 a month or something like that. It's not much, $5. And so if they find your phone number, email, social security, any of that on any website or part of a data breach, part of the dark web, like I got this morning, then you're going to get an email from that credit reporting agency. So freezing your credit, nobody can check your credit information and access that data, even you. You have to unfreeze your credit, super easy. It'll refreeze automatically. Our credit has been frozen for probably 5 years or more, quite a while.
Yeah, actually, Kay, I kind of wonder if we should back up a little bit and if you could just very briefly tell people what a credit freeze is.
Sure, sure. Credit freeze is, of course, your credit report with Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax gives the history of pretty much everywhere you've lived, all of the accounts that you've had, credit card accounts, mortgage, anything that you've paid on time, any loans, social security, addresses, phone numbers, all of that information is in that report. We always encourage you to look at that at least quarterly. Make sure that there's no errors because you can ask them to fix those errors. So if you go to buy something on time, even if it's like to get a new cell phone, and they just add it to your monthly bill, service bill each month to pay the phone, the first thing that T-Mobile or Verizon or anybody is going to do is contact a credit reporting agency to check your credit. If your credit is frozen, they're not going to be able to get that information. The agency is going to say that information is unavailable. Contact the owner, contact the person. And then the person at Verizon or to wherever you are is going to hand the phone back to you and say, we can't get your information. And so if you know, so that's a good thing because if your data, if your information is stolen in identity theft, whether it's your phone, your name, your email, address, your social security number, anything in a data breach where a company or organization has that information is bought and sold in the dark web for truly not very much money. But a fraudster can take that, go buy anything that they want, lots of cell phones to then resell, but T-Mobile and Verizon are going to contact the credit reporting agency and they're going to say, oh, no, you can't buy this stuff, you know, Ms. Tomlinson, even though it's not me, because we can't get your credit report. So it's really a top level protection for yourself to take a lot of that worry away. If you want to go buy something and pay for it on a monthly basis or however you want to do it, a new car, a phone, whatever the case may be, all you have to do is just contact the credit reporting agency that that company or organization is going to go to check. Unfreeze your credit for a day, 2 days, a week, whatever you want. They're going to get the information they need about you. You're going to know about it. They're going to say, yes, you can go ahead and buy this new car. Then your credit will automatically refreeze and you're protected again. So really valuable. Really valuable. I see Eric is saying, has anyone noticed a downsize to a credit freeze? I've heard it can cause issues. I have not heard of any issues around freezing your credit. Haven't seen any alerts, any reporting through any either government or financial agencies about there being an issue. I will look into that, Eric, because that would be interesting to me to see if there's something going on there that I'm not aware of. I know lots of financial regulations at the national level are changing right now. So it might be something that is happening that I just haven't been aware of as yet.
Yeah, yeah, and I was also going to add that both to freeze and unfreeze your credit is free in Washington, or actually it's
Everywhere.
free. I think everywhere now.
Everywhere.
Um, but I think Washington was the first state to kind of require that the credit bureaus not charge you to freeze and unfreeze because kind of before they did have a small fee, which is not really fair. So you can now freeze and unfreeze. And I can't remember the last time I've needed, enough credit that there would be a credit check. You kind of get older, you don't kind of buy as much stuff as you used to. So but there is a question on a little different topic.
Hmm.
And let me scroll up to get it. And Nancy asked, if you think malware has been downloaded on a computer, what steps should be taken, and how do we know?
Well, how do you know? If your computer, your phone, your device, your laptop starts running much, much slower than normal when you're waiting for pages to load and come up, waiting for your email to come up. You click send on an email and it just kind of sits there and then it'll go. So slowing down, if you see you should have, and I'm assuming we all do, have a security upgrades enabled on your browser and your operating system. So, like Windows Defender, Apple's has an onboard as well for Macs. They're likely going to pop up with an issue. If you think something is strange, if your screens are kind of hovering, click on your security device on your security software on your device and run a check to see. to see what's happening. Also, if you're a little more tech savvy, you can open your task manager on your device and see what's running. You know, for like Windows, it's Control Shift Escape all at one time. Task Manager comes up. You can see everything that's running right now on your device. Anything look unfamiliar? Don't just delete stuff. Check and see what's unfamiliar and what's not. So again, you can do that, run your anti-malware software to check. A lot of times when you run that, it'll say, do you want to delete this program because it's been identified as malware? Yes. You may need to take it to someone to have them look at it, to take a look and see if there is a problem. The main thing is if you get a screen pop up that says, we've discovered a virus or malware on your device, call this number right away to get it taken care of, and we can help you with this. Sounds very convincing, and unfortunately, it looks very convincing. And sometimes there's like a sound, a horrible siren that comes too, that you can only make it go away by clicking on the link to contact them. If you call them, that is a scam. They're going to ask for money. They're going to show you horrible things on your computer that look like viruses. They're not viruses. What they're doing is just installing more malware and charging you money. It's a scam. So, you know, if your device is mainly acting more slowly, if it's your phone, are you seeing apps that don't look familiar? When you go into your settings and pull up the apps, just the list of apps, not what's on your screen with the icon, but the list of apps, because those icons for some devices are going to go away if you don't use that app in a long time. So again, just some things to watch out for. Mainly, you're starting to get skeptical and a little suspicious that something's not quite right.
I was just adding a link in the chat for our fraud videos, just because what you're talking about with the task manager, we actually have a video
Oh, very
there
good.
where a scammer shows how he uses the task manager to convince people that they have malware and they need to buy his service for like $500 to clean off the malware when in fact there isn't any malware. So pretty interesting. But I just wanted to call attention to those fraud videos. If you're interested in the fraud topic, check out our YouTube channel, but in particular the fraud playlist. And on the credit freeze issue, Rosa says that if you access your Social Security account online, which I also need to do, and you have a credit freeze on, you will have to unfreeze it before logging into your Social Security account. If you don't do it, you will get an error message when you try to log into Social Security. That is very interesting.
Oh, that is interesting. You know,
I don't know why one would have to do with the other, but
well,
maybe
and
we'll have
you
to look
know,
into that.
what is today? Friday. Probably earlier this week, I logged on to my Social Security account and my husband's account. And as I said, our credit is frozen for both of us, both of our Social Security numbers. And I didn't get an error message, but just going to myssa.gov is really not the way they want you to log on anymore. It's idme.gov.
Mm.
And so it's kind of like, so I had to get had to get my list of passwords out going, oh, that's right, I had a new password for this one. And so I got into both accounts with no trouble, but the process for logging in has changed. It used to be so easy. myssa.gov, ID and password, you're in, maybe two-factor authentication if they had set it up at Social Security, but now it's much more complex. And if you have other government accounts like a Global Admit or Trusted Traveler card because you travel or a lot or travel internationally, ID.me is going to list all of those accounts that you can access in one place. Also, DM, thank you. Yes, the VPN can cause login issues as well. I've seen that on MyChart for our healthcare companies. So many of them now are using MyChart to go see all your information online and make appointments. If I don't uh, disable my VPN first, I can't get into MyChart,
Oh,
which kind of defeats the point. But I would imagine that for Social Security as well, it could potentially cause login issues.
hmm. Okay. Well, Roger has a good question here. How do you tell if you're on a legitimate website? And he says that we went to HP website through a chat agent, was connected to a technician who would not work with our HP product problem until he fixed in quotation marks our computer problems and secure a lifetime contract for $1,000. That's kind of like the tech support scam I just mentioned. Now we realize it's a scam process. How do we undo or reverse?
Right. I'm so sorry. Yeah, well, I think going through the chat agent that was connected to a technician, I think that's the piece that got you to the false website. And like you said, how do you tell if you're on a legitimate website? It should have in front of the web address that's at the top of your screen where it says, google.com, hp.com. It should have a padlock that's closed and locked at the very beginning of that. That is a pretty good indicator. It used to be able to say, if it said HTTPS for secure, that was your indicator. That can be spoofed, but that little lock from everything, I know Andy isn't with us today, our cyber expert. He said, that little lock at the beginning of the address is still a good indicator that that's a secure website. And it's very difficult, more so now than it ever has been, because the scammers they don't even have to create it themselves. They can use AI to create false websites. Scammers that are parts of big organizations, especially overseas, they actually hire third-party companies that are legitimate companies. They may be legitimate companies. They might not know who they're working with to actually create these fake websites. The network is breathtaking, but it's getting more and more difficult. The tough part is that, that should send off red flags for all of us. If someone says, I can't do this unless you pay that, regardless of what it is. If somebody told me that, I would say, I want to get a second opinion. If somebody calls me and says, it's my son in Seattle, here's what you can buy me for Christmas, I'd say, you know what? I've got somebody at the door. I'm going to call you right back. And if they say, no, 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 you can't call me back, I'll know it's a scam. You get the idea that I'm so sorry that that happened. It's getting more and more difficult to find out if that is a legitimate site or not. Look for the padlock.
Yeah, I would also say that a tip for this kind of thing is that if you Google HP support, don't think that the first line or the first website that comes up is the real one.
Correct.
That's not the way search works anymore. And usually the top 5 or 6 will all be paid ads for a website. And those aren't necessarily HP. I mean, whoever's buying those ads on Google can put whatever they want. So they can put HP support, click here. But then if you click on the link and you look at the web address, it's not hp.com or not hewlett-packard.com. So you really need to, and Kay had mentioned some of what Andy Meyer has talked about on previous Fraud Watch Fridays. How do you look at a website address and tell if it's real? And you kind of need to see the hp.com in the right place to have any confidence that it's real. So like the first thing is don't just click on search results and feel confident that you're going to where you want to go. It's always safer to type the web address in yourself if it's a big company and you know what their website most likely is. That's the safest way to get there, and then go to support from that website that you then have typed in yourself. But Kay also mentions a fraud prevention technique across all frauds, which is don't just go along with what people tell you to do in the moment. When you have time to check it out, if they say, "Well, I can fix your computer, but you have to sign up for this monthly maintenance contract," ask yourself, do I have time to live without my computer for a little bit while I think about this? And a lot of times, the answer is yes. So you can take a step back and maybe do a little bit of research, and not just do what people tell you in the moment. And it's always tempting because you want the problem fixed,
You want to be done.
but it's always like in the back of your mind, you really need to act. So for all frauds, really, this applies to all frauds where you get pitched on the phone or by text or by email. It's always good to take even 30 seconds, in your own mind and think, what should I do next? Because scammers are always trying to get you to take action before you can think about it. But that doesn't, that doesn't really help to undo it. Is there anything that Roger can do you think? I mean, you certainly can stop paying for the service like if it's a monthly thing.
Right.
But is there anything beyond that?
I would go to HP support and contact them and explain what's happened so they're aware that this scam is going on and see what they can do to either help or give you some reference material. And so I would contact them and see, and if you go in and like you say, you Google or do a search on HP support, the search results that come up, and you mentioned, Bruce, don't click on the top ones. Typically, the very top search results are going to say sponsored
Mhm.
on top of them. I've got my husband trained to not click on those. And to go down, just scroll down to one, and the search result always lists the web address. So go down to the ones that don't say sponsored and look for like you say, hewlettpackard.com is the web address. That's the real one, not the sponsored. Uh,
Yeah, and that's why it's important to stay up on things, and kind of why we do Fraud Watch Friday is, it's actually been a while, but at one point, the search results that came up first on Google were the most popular. But unfortunately, those days are gone.
mhm.
So, like a technique that worked maybe a few years ago, or even, a few months ago, may not be the current thing. So, that's I still have in the back of my mind. Like the first thing that comes up is the best result. That is not true at all. So do not put that out of your mind. I've finally succeeded in that.
All right.
Um, we are over time. Thank you for all the questions. We kind of really
Yes,
got going there.
good discussion.
And like we have some stuff to work on for next month, like about the virtual card.
Yeah.
Um, so and so we'll follow up on that. People have put the various links and advice in the chat, which is great. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, thank you.
But I will say I have not had time to fact check these. So take them as you will. We try and be careful what we say on behalf of ARP. So other advice that comes up, but take it with I'm sure they're probably all great advice, but as always, you got to check and verify. But I am going to put the link to register for next month's event if you want to go ahead and do that. We have been talking about doing health related products and supplements. Do you want to talk just a little bit about that and why we're thinking about doing that next month?
Absolutely. And this would tie into our virtual cards too, because especially in January after we've all eaten and drank way too much, been way too stressed, and made our New Year's resolutions to de-stress, lose weight, and take better care of ourselves, we're really at risk from social media presentations and ads about healthcare supplements. Supplements for your health, supplements to lose weight, and many, if not most of these, are accompanied by deep fake AI videos from people like Oprah Winfrey, even President Obama, all these celebrities that are hawking and selling and saying how wonderful these products are. I was just in a meeting this week with some local finance and Better Business consumer investigators, and the amount of fake and dangerous product coming in from overseas that's being sold on social media is breathtaking. Everywhere from just plain spices to hardcore drugs that can kill us if we take it. So again, next month rather, what should we be looking out for, and what would be safe? Because we all want to be healthy, but boy, the fraudsters know exactly what we're looking for.
Well, yeah, I'm always up for a health fad, much less than I used to be, but it always gets my attention. Um, so just wanted to point out a few links. One to our Frog Watch Friday page, which I mentioned earlier. Also the toll-free helpline if you need to talk with a trained fraud watch volunteer. That is the number. I know I posted the wrong number a couple of sessions ago, so I if that's wrong, tell me, but I'm pretty sure it's right. And then also ARP's fraud website, which has a wealth of information on all sorts of frauds. That's the ARP national site. It has to do with our Fraud Watch network, whose logo I have right here. And that's all around the country of volunteers, kind of like we have in Washington, but it's spread across the country. So kind of with that, thank you again for joining us and happy holidays. Kate, do you have any closing thoughts for us?
Thank you again for joining us during this busy holiday season. Thanks for a wonderful discussion today. Lots of great points, lots of great questions. Thank you so much. Be safe. If you're here in Washington, stay dry and really watch out for those road closures due to flooding, because they're everywhere and quite dangerous. So be safe, stay dry, and have a wonderful holiday season in spite of all of that.
All right. All right. Well, thanks everyone, and we'll see you in 2026.
Okay.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
See ya.